Hello guys. In this video, after a short review of the previous video, we'll learn different ways to export data in Camtasia. We can select a frame and export it as an image, or export only audio and captions. Also, we can produce just a selection of the timeline in Camtasia. Finally, I'll explain all steps to export the final video. Alright, in the previous video, we completed Camtasia tools. We learned how a quiz, usually at the end of a video, can be designed. Here, I've designed a quiz with 4 questions. Also, I've shown how a marker can be created on the timeline or within media. As you see, I've used a marker at the beginning of each part of my video. I will use these markers to add an interactive table of contents to the final video. If you remember, we used the jump list to change the playhead position to the next or previous media file inside the timeline area. Similarly, we can use this list, or use these shortcuts to move the playhead to the next or previous quiz or marker. Now, let's see different outputs we can get from a project. Let me select a frame. Now, let's go to the Share menu, and click on this item, Export Frame As. As you see, here are 4 formats, BMP, GIF, JPG, and PNG, to save the selected frame as an image on my computer. Again, let's go to the Share menu, and select Export Audio Only. At this time, only the audio part of my project can be saved in 3 formats. Let me change its name, and select the WAV format. Well, this is the audio part of my project. Again, let's go to the Share menu. As you see, this item, Export Captions, is inactive. If you remember, in previous videos, I added a short caption. Let me enable this track, which includes my captions. As you see, the caption is divided into 4 sections. Now, let's use the Export Captions item under the Share menu. Let's write a name, and then select the SRT format. That's a popular format, which is used usually for captions. Okay, this the exported caption. Let me open it with the notepad. As you see, the caption is divided into 4 sections with its start and end time. Alright, another item under the Share menu is Produce Selection As. It's inactive. I need to select a part of the timeline area. Then, if I use Produce Selection As under the Share menu, only this part of the timeline will be produced as a video. Well, here are some choices. Let's select this size of the MP4 format. As you see, this format doesn't support some features like markers and the inserted hotspot interactive effect. Let's continue. Well, here we can change the video name, and then, determine when it must be saved. I usually this item, organize produced files into subfolders, when the output will include several files. For now, let's uncheck it, because the selected format will produce 1 video. But let me check this item, Show Production Results. Now, let me click on Finish to start video producing. Alright, this window shows me where my video has been produced. Its name, duration, time, size, dimension, and other related information. Now, let me click here to open the production folder. This the produced video of the selected timeline area. Let's go to the Share menu again. Note that, these items have been told. Other items are accessible, if you click on the Share icon. These items can be used to produce a video of the whole project. Let's start with the first item. Well, I have used the MP4 format to produce a video of the selected part right now. There is another format, MP4 with Smart Player. It supports features like hotspot interactivity, and also quizzing. As you see, at this time, if I click on the next button, I won't see a warning message. Okay, here are some settings, but let me explain them using a general state. Let's select the custom production settings. For this item, all settings to produce a video can be adjusted. Here we can see the file types that are available for us. We can choose any one of these file types, but the recommended one is MP4. I often use this format. The next format is WMV file, which is a Windows Media Video file. If I knew I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation, and I need something to be able to be played in that presentation, then I'll choose WMV. Because it's easier for PowerPoint to play the WMV file inside itself. I'll choose AVI if I'm creating a DVD. Because DVD or digital video discs will need to have your video in a non-compressed format. The MP4 and the WMV are compressed formats, but AVI is an uncompressed, or you can at least choose an uncompressed. So usually, this format will produce a larger video than the other formats. The next option is to make an animated GIF. Files with this format can put in email or on a website, where something funny is happening. Note that, GIF files are very small, usually like 3 to 5 seconds max. You could create GIF files that are minutes long if you wanted, but because these are made to be really short on the web. So, keep files with this format, as small as possible. Well, the last option can be used to export the audio only. Like when we used Export Audio Only option, under the Share menu. Now, let's keep the recommended format, and click on the next button. This is the Smart Player Options window. It has different tabs. Let's start with the Controller tab. The first checkbox decides whether or not we're going to have the whole Smart Player included in the production. If I uncheck this, the Smart Player will not be used at all. So, some used tools like quiz, markers, and hotspot interactivity won't work in the produced video. So, I want to activate the Smart Player features. Then we can choose whether or not we hide this control bar. Auto hiding is a good idea. Because I don't want them to be on the video the whole time, but maybe you do. Then, there is the option of what to do after the video completes. I usually prefer to stop the video with the replay button. Also, the video can be stopped without the replay button. If you just want that video to play over and over again, you can use the third choice, loop playback. Lastly, you can have somebody watch the video, and then at the end of the video, it takes them to a URL. Maybe it takes them to the next video in the series, or maybe it takes them to assign a page or to a sales page. Now, as I look at this, I can't uncheck pause at start. If I go over to options and I uncheck quizzing, then I have the ability to pause at start or not. Now, I'll be able to decide whether or not pause the video at the beginning. If pause at start is enabled, I will have two choices to determine the start thumbnail. That's an image like a frame from the video, or an image on the computer, which will be displayed when the video is paused at the beginning. Let's have quizzing, so the video is going to start automatically. Well, the next tab is the size tab. As you see, here are two sizes. The video size is the editing dimensions inside the Camtasia. But when I put it on a web page, the embed size will be used. These sizes can be adjusted. Now, they're exactly the same size on the screen. Note that, the option to keep the aspect ratio is checked, otherwise, it can distort the video or it can stretch things out. To be honest, I've never unchecked this. Well, let me back to the default size, and go to the next tab. This tab confuse a lot of people and I wouldn't recommend you changing anything on this screen. Camtasia has these settings to provide a great balance between compression and quality. The goal of this video is not to tell you what each of these things is, but I'll show you just a couple of things you might want to change. First of all, frame rate. I often just leave it at automatic, but if you need to specify exactly 30, 60, or another frames per second, you can do that here. The keyframe is something that it uses whenever a large change happens to the screen. I would just leave this at 5 seconds. H.264 options deal with the MP4 file format. Here you can see that default options are baseline, and auto for the level. The only time I've changed these settings, is when I needed to set a specific type of quality in my video. Let's keep default settings, and go to the next option. One of the things that is easily overlooked that I have used many times in Camtasia is this option, multiple files based on markers. If you remember, I have defined 8 markers. So, if I chose this, it would create 8 separate video files. For example, when the main video duration is long, this option can be used. For the encoding mode, now, 60% is selected for quality. I wouldn't go much above 60 though, because the file size gets really big. If you go down to the smaller sizes, that might be fine for mobile devices or something like that. Note that, this item can be adjusted based on the bitrate. Let's keep its default settings. The last option on the current tab is the color mode. If you're in North America, leave it at NTSC. If you're in other parts of the world, you may want to choose HDTV. Now let's go to the next tab, Audio Settings. Here are only 2 options. If I uncheck this box, then no audio will be produced with my video. The other option is the bitrate. For most projects 128 kilobit per second is fine. If you have some background music, and if you want really high quality, you will need a higher bitrate. If your audio is just voice, then a lower bitrate like 56, can be selected. That provides excellent vocal quality for just a speaking voice. Now, let's go to the Options tab. Here we can select to have a table of contents based on markers. The next item is searchable, which finds a word for us inside the caption or markers. Also I can choose to enable or disable captions or quizzing. Note that, there are 3 types for our caption. By default it will be closed captions. So, the caption will only appear when the user decides to enable it. Only for this type, we can use the next checkbox, which determines captions to be initially visible or not. Another type is burned-in captions. In this way, captions are a part of the video, and we can't turn them off. The third choice works like the second one, but it puts the caption under the video. Now, let me change the HTML title. Later, I'll show you where this title is used. Inside the next tab, I can add a watermark. Let's click on the options icon. First, you can find your personal logo. After that, there are some effects that you can do. For example, remove its background. Well, my logo doesn't have any background. Or change its opacity, and also its scale. As you can see, at the bottom, we can change the inserted logo position. OK. As I mentioned before, I don't want this option. Let me disable it. Note that, if you click here, this window will appear. Inside this window, we can add video or author information. Let me skip it and click on the next button. Well, if you remember, I've enabled table of content. Now, here you can see how inserted markers are used inside the table. Each marker can be disabled, or renamed by this icon. Here we can determine where the table must be, on the left side, or right side. The last item, determine how markers must be displayed. Let's select the first one, text with thumbnail. Note that, the first option displays each marker number, and the second option displays the table at the beginning. Now, let me click on the next button. At this window, we can customize the quiz reporting. The quiz result can be reported using SCORM or through email. Here you can determine do you need to identify viewers or not. Finally, you can change the quiz appearance like its title. Naturally, if you don't have any quiz, or disable it, this window won't appear. Let's continue. This is the last window, which was explained before. Note that, at this time, when the Smart Player is used, Camtasia won't produce only one video. These files will be produced. So, I enable this item, to organize produced file into subfolders. Now, let's click on Finish. Alright, as you see, all these files have been produced inside this folder. This is the main video. Also here are two HTML files which can be used on a website. Let me open one of them. As you can see, there is a table based on my markers on the right side.
Hello guys,
I can use them to jump the video to the desired time.
I just wanted to inform you about all the great content we have been releasing on the PLC.
If you remember, before the last marker, I've added a quiz to the project. So, I need to do that, before starting the last section. Well, this is my score. 2 correct and 2 wrong answers. I can view answers, or click on Continue. Now, the section, right after the quiz, is playing. If you remember, I've enabled the searchable option. Now, here, I can search a marker like About Us, or search the Arduino word, inside the video captions.
Simple Arduino-based
Okay. If you remember, in the previous video, I've used the hotspot effect on the black logo, to open my site. Also, this effect was used for the yellow logo on the right corner. As you see, this my selected title, and when this video uploaded on the web, viewers can use these icons to enable captions, table, and other settings. In the next video I'll explain uploading a video on a site, export the project as a zip file, and other useful points. Thanks for watching my content. If you have any question on this topic, make sure you leave them in the comment section below, and if you can spend a few seconds of your time liking as well as sharing this video, if you enjoyed it, that will mean a lot to me. If you have any suggestions for the channel, such as what kind of hardware or software I should be covering, then make sure to leave that in the comment section. See you next time. Bye bye.